Good afternoon. Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India NewsHour, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chairs high-level meeting at his New Delhi residence with External Affairs Minister, Defence Minister, National Security Advisor, Chief of Defence Staff and Chiefs of the three armed forces. Signs of normalcy in areas along India-Pakistan border. In Srinagar, life returns to normal at Lal Chowk, Dal Lake. Punch market reopens after 4-day closure. Normalcy returns in Riyasi and Jaisalmer. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh inaugurates BrahMos Aerospace Integration Testing Facility in Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh. Hails India's advances in defence production. At least 21 passengers killed as bus skids off a cliff in Sri Lanka, many injured. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired a high-level meeting at his residence in Delhi. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, NSA Ajit Doval, CDS General Anil Chauhan and Chiefs of three services were in attendance. For more, DD India correspondent Akshay Dongure joins us from New Delhi. Akshay, given the evolving situation with Pakistan, what do we know about the key takeaways from the meeting?
Well, the key takeaways are quite clear as far as the developments of the last 72 hours are concerned. India has seen hostilities, India has seen escalation, and India has seen retaliation by Indian armed forces as well. So one thing that had become very clear, Shubhendu, and that we can report very responsibly is that the retaliation of the Indian armed forces was not only proportionate but highly successful as well. It seems that the kind of pressure that was building on Pakistan to escalate situation was constantly failing. That's why that's the reason why the DGMO of Pakistani military reached out to the Indian side requesting for a ceasefire at the present situation. So while it is being observed across the international border as well as the LOC as far as the armed forces of the two countries are concerned, there has to be strategy in place as well, and that perhaps is the reason why the meeting was called. Meeting was also called to review the situation and to get updates about everything that has happened in the last 24 hours, because Prime Minister Narendra Modi is directly holding talks with not only the defence minister at the political spectrum but also including all the armed forces chiefs, the Air Force, Navy and Army, along with the Chief Defence the National Security Advisor, the CDS, so all of the officials from the Defence Ministry were part of the meeting, in which the earlier instances such as the observation of ceasefire, how it is being implemented, how people are being protected, and also the future steps that have to be taken given the light of the prevailing situation as far as the relocation of the people who have moved from the bordering areas to insides are concerned, and to provide protection and to not only the locals of Jammu and Kashmir and other regions that are bordering the international border and the LOC, but also the people who are living in other parts of the country who were seeing constant threats and constant drone attacks that were carried out by the Pakistani armed forces. So also to prepare for a future, also to prepare for similar kind of engagements if there is any flare up ever in the future, because India has already said that any act of terror will be an act of war. So if you say that there is an act of war committed by the enemy, then you have to retaliate in a proportionate manner, which requires a lot of capability. So I think the capability building part will be focused a lot by the government. Everything that is required by the armed forces is being taken note of, how dynamics of warfare have changed and how newer equipment is to be inducted and utilized in any warlike situation. That has been a talk of town as far as the defense forces are concerned. And
Right.
capacity building will remain a key focus for the government as far as any future requirements of the forces are concerned. So it seems that there will be an overhaul as far as the defense strategies are concerned, now that the Indian Army and the Indian Armed Forces have seen sort of an active battleground with a nuclear armed country.
Right. Also, the military action has been stopped. How critical is this phase, Akshay, and what happens next?
Well, India has been maintaining from the very beginning that any kind of strike or any kind of action that will be taken by the Indian Armed Forces will be aimed only at stopping terror activities emanating out of Pakistani borders as well as the Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir region. But also what we are stating at this point in time as far as the actions are concerned of the armed forces was proportionate, and if there are cessation of hostilities at one side, then India is also going to respect that, and that is what is happening. Pakistan itself had come to India to request for a ceasefire, stating that there will be cessation of hostilities. However, all the other aspects of the ongoing tensions between the two countries had no place as far as the discussions are concerned between the two DGMO level officers. That includes the Indus Water Pact and other kind of visa cancellations and stoppage of trade, as well as the airspace that has been closed for the Pakistani airlines. So nothing of these options and these developments were discussed between the two countries. The only thing that has developed is the cessation of hostilities that started yesterday at about 5 p.m. and that is also being observed, that how in case of any eventuality Indian Armed Forces will be responding.
Akshay, thank you for those updates. Earlier on Saturday evening, India and Pakistan agreed on an understanding on stoppage of all firing and military action. Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri said Director General of Military Operations of Pakistan called the Indian counterpart at 15:35 hours IST on Saturday. It was agreed between them that both sides would stop all firing and military action on land and in the air and sea with effect from 1700 hours Indian Standard Time on Saturday. Instructions were given on both sides to give effect to the understanding. The Director Generals of Military Operations will talk again on 12th of May at 1200 hours. Meanwhile, the situation along the border areas of India remained normal today, a day after agreement of understanding was reached between India and Pakistan. In Jammu and Kashmir, no drones, firing or shelling activity were reported during the intervening night of May 10th and 11th. Calm prevailed on the borders of the Union Territory, especially along the line of control in Poonch and Rajouri. As normalcy returns to Jammu, Sri Mata Vaishno Devi Shrine Board has pitched in to help the devotees. The board has arranged free accommodation facilities for devotees in Katra. The Shrine Board administration is providing free lodging for pilgrims at Ashirwad Bhavan, Katra, with a capacity of some 550 beds. The overall security situation across India's western border states remains stable through the night of May 10th and 11th, with no reported incidents of far enemy contacts of hostile movement. In Punjab, several districts including Firozpur and Pathankot returned to normal, while red alert continues in Amritsar district, with the Deputy Commissioner urging residents to remain indoors and avoid windows. Power supply has been restored for public convenience. In Rajasthan, no hostile movements or airspace violations were detected overnight. The state security establishment remains on alert. Gujarat also reported a normal situation across run of Kutch, coastal areas and airspace. State headquarters and district administrations conducted a review meeting to assess and reinforce preparedness. Dauke village in Amritsar district of Punjab is surrounded by Pakistan on three sides, while only a narrow road connects this village to the rest of the country. After the agreement between India and Pakistan at the DGMO level, a colleague Gurmeet Singh inspected this village located near the international border.
We are reporting from a village which is surrounded on three sides by Pakistan. The very first visual I would like to show you. Over here, this is the residential area of this village. Just behind it, is Pakistan, international border of India and Pakistan. And the second visual that I would like to show you, few people of this village, they are huddling just behind the tree, just under the tree, and discussing the local issues with a barbed wire fence stretching out behind them, beyond which lay Pakistan. On the right side also, the visuals that we cannot show you due to the security reasons, the international border of Pakistan and India exist on the right side. So third visual that I would like to show you is of the road, because that is just behind me. You can see the fields, and behind this is a road that connects the whole country with this village. So you can understand the importance of this village, and I would like to show you the youth of this village, which is enjoying at this point in time just 150 meters away from the international border, from the fencing of India-Pakistan border. So the people over here, the people of this village, are saying that they are feeling quite secure and the situation is quite calm and peaceful at this point in time. Meanwhile, if we talk about rest of the Punjab, starting from Amritsar to Taran, Gurdaspur, Firozpur, Fazilka, the situation is quite peaceful at this point in time. And the local administration is also appealing the people to not to believe on the misinformation that is being spread on the social media. Only official sources, only the official information that is being given should be trusted upon. Reporting from the international border of village Dauke, Amritsar, with camera person Sumit Dhiman, this is Gurmeet Singh for DD India.
Let's now get some more updates from the ground. DD India correspondents Amritpal Singh and Meghna joining us. Amritpal is joining us from Punjab, Kartarpur, and Meghna is joining us from Bhuj in Gujarat. Amrit, let me come to you first. With cessation of military activity and action, give us a sense of how normalcy is returning to where you are.
Okay, first I'm not in Kartarpur. I'm standing right on the banks of river Satluj. I've moved from Kartarpur, moving in different districts of Punjab.
All right.
The sense that I'm picking up on the ground is that normalcy is limping back, and the state is limping back to normalcy. But what they've seen, Shubhendu, over the past few days while Operation Sindoor was on, Pakistani drones, this being a border state, Pakistani drones, Pakistani missiles, projectiles landing on their rooftops, debris falling over residential areas, drones falling in their fields. Though not much damage was done, some places people were injured, both in Amritsar and in Firozpur, but no major damage per se. There were military installations that were attacked in Punjab. So those memories are still fresh in the minds. It's just, the last night was quiet, the skies were quiet, so the borders were quiet. So there is a slight apprehension, which is understandable in the locals, that what would tonight look like, because there were blackouts still. The civil administration was taking no chances. There were blackouts. Amritsar was plunged into complete darkness all night, and electricity was restored only early in the morning. And in other places also, electricity in the border villages and the border districts, electricity was restored only past midnight. So that led to a certain sense of panic. But of course, the district administration is exercising abundant caution. So they're looking at tonight. Slowly that confidence is coming back in people, that things between India and Pakistan have been sorted for the moment. And so that is the general sentiment that I've gathered wherever I've traveled throughout the state.
Right.
Shubhendu.
Amrit, stay with us while we turn to Meghna. Meghna, correction, I think you're from Kutch in Gujarat. Past couple of days and nights have been difficult for people living in the border states with blackouts and threats of missile and drones. How are things now?
at the moment, very importantly, as Amritpal said, there is apprehension, definitely very palpable, but the district administration is quite cautious because yesterday there was a blackout which was lifted after the understanding was reached. But after that, what the kind of violations that were being reported, the district administration again, actually observed, the entire district of Kutch observed a blackout, and also not only the Kutch district but also the other bordering districts like Banaskantha, Patan, many villages there along the border also did observe a blackout. Now what we have seen since morning today, all the shops have been open. Life has turned to normal. I guess it was as normal as it was maybe 3 to 4 days ago. But definitely people, because in the past few days people have been hearing about drones being spotted. People have been hearing about, though there has been no civilian life loss, or there has been no damage that has been major damage that has been reported across Kutch. So this is something that upholds the spirits of people, that there has been no such damage that has been reported, and there's been no loss of civilian lives as well. So definitely this is something that people are complying with, the administration, the rules that have been laid out by the administration. But what we see on the ground is that situation is quite normal. We'll have to see if tonight also the administration orders for a blackout. So we'll have to see for that, because until now everything seems very normal. There has been no sirens that we could hear today. Last night also, since late night, there have been no sirens that we could hear. So clearly it seems that things are getting back to normal, but we'll definitely have to see, because there are, as Amrit said, there are apprehensions as well, and the administration is cautious and very prepared, and keeping a vigil.
Right. Meghna, Amrit, if we talk about the conflict with Pakistan, Amrit, I'll come to you first. We see that new red lines have been drawn. India saying clearly that any act of terror in the future is going to be seen as an act of war.
That's right, Shimindu. Once the DGMOs spoke last afternoon, and the statements that followed were that any act of terror will be treated as an act of war. Basically saying that even if you want to stop the military, it was the Pakistani DGMO who called the Indian DGMO and said that we don't want to take the military hostilities and the military action further. So India said, fine, we are fine by it. We have always been saying that we are only responding, we are only retaliating to what you are doing. If you want to stop it, let's go down that alley. We did not want to do it in the first place. Our 7th May strikes were against terror targets. But it was made very clear in no uncertain terms, right from the Prime Minister to the Foreign Minister to also the DGMOs who spoke, that any act of terror emanating from their soil will be dealt with and will be met with a very strong military response, as was on the 7th of May. This excuse that, oh, it was not our proxies, we don't know them, India is not ready to accept that. The red lines have been drawn, that no act of terror from your soil, whether with your connivance or not, we don't care about that. Your soil, you remove that, you stop that, otherwise we'll hit you back, we'll hit the terror targets back, and that shall be treated as an act of war. So the red lines have been drawn very, very clearly, that if the terror factory does not stop operating from Pakistan soil, India will exercise its right to decimate that terror factory.
Right, and Meghna, last couple of days of the conflict also demonstrated India's capability in defense preparedness, not just in carrying out a precision strike, but also defending against a barrage of missiles and drones at different parts.
Absolutely, and this speaks volumes of how much prepared India is, not only to keep a vigil on the borders, not only to keep a vigil along the coastline, but also how much prepared the citizens are. We have been seeing mock drills across, across many states, across many districts, and all the mock drills, the kind of compliance, Shubhendu, that people have seen. We have been showing our viewers the kind of visuals that not only the armed forces are prepared, our our arms, ammunition, weaponry is prepared. We are showing our indigenous strength as well in terms of our arms and ammunition. But what we definitely did also see is that how strongly this the citizens are prepared. Now, what very importantly, what we also see is that as being said, that India has clearly said that earlier also in the first strikes when India destroyed the terror camps, clearly said this is precise, no collateral damage, this is measured, we are responsible, and India has been, and after that India responsibly announced the world also about it, that we have carried out a strike on terror camps. We are at war with the terrorists. So this was very clear on India's front, that we are only taking action against terrorists. And we really do not want to do any kind of collateral damage, nothing aimed at civilians, nothing aimed at the military. But after that also, how the situation escalated, India has been giving retaliatory response to all the offensives that have happened. So clearly paints a picture of the preparedness, the kind of vigil, the kind of the strength and the kind of mindset that the armed forces have at the moment, and they're really prepared. Clearly, after in the last few days, we did see that clearly prepared for anything, any kind of offensive that comes their way.
Right, Meghna, Amritpal, thank you for joining us with those updates. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh inaugurated the BrahMos Aerospace Integration and Testing Facility on Sunday. The event was held in Uttar Pradesh's Lucknow city. It was attended by State's Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath. Addressing the event via video conferencing, Defence Minister said Indian forces launched Operation Sindoor. Was aimed at dismantling terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan and never targeted their civilians.
को पाकिस्तान में मौजूद आतंकी ढांचा ढहाने के उद्देश्य से लॉन्च किया था। हमने उनके आम नागरिकों को कभी निशाना नहीं बनाया था, मगर पाकिस्तान ने न केवल भारत के नागरिक इलाकों को निशाना बनाया, बल्कि मंदिर, गुरुद्वारा, गिरजाघर पर भी हमले करने का प्रयास किया। भारतीय सेना ने शौर्य और पराक्रम के साथ साथ संयम का भी परिचय देते हुए पाकिस्तान के अन्य ठिकानों पर भी प्रहार करके करारा जवाब दिया है। हमने केवल सीमा से सटे सैन्य ठिकानों पर ही नहीं कार्रवाई की, बल्कि भारत की सेनाओं की धमक उस रावलपिंडी तक सुनी गई, जहां पाकिस्तानी फौज का हेडक्वार्टर मौजूद है।
Minister Rajnath Singh also said BrahMos facility will strengthen India's efforts towards self-reliance in the defence sector.
हमारा सपना है कि उत्तर प्रदेश दुनिया के टॉप डिफेंस प्रोडक्शन और एक्सपोर्ट डेस्टिनेशन के रूप में जाना जाए। आज जो ब्रह्मोस फैसिलिटी शुरू हो रही है, मैं समझता हूं वह यूपी डिफेंस कॉरिडोर का एक गौरव होगा। यह सिर्फ उत्तर प्रदेश का ही नहीं, बल्कि देश का सबसे बड़ा ब्रह्मोस इंटीग्रेशन एंड टेस्टिंग फैसिलिटी सेंटर है। यह रक्षा क्षेत्र में भारत की आत्मनिर्भरता के प्रयास को भी मजबूती प्रदान करेगा।
Still to come on DD India NewsHour. Pope Leo XIV delivers first Sunday blessing and address to the crowd at St. Peter's Square. Business is booming at Japan's Don-curated discount stores.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. A tragic bus accident in Grenandela area of Sri Lanka's Kotmale early on Sunday morning has claimed lives of 21 people and left some 35 injured. The bus carrying more than 50 passengers was en route from Katargama to Kurungala when it skidded off a rain-slicked winding road. Initial police findings suggest speeding and dangerous road conditions as possible causes. Investigators are also examining potential mechanical failure or driver negligence. Rescue efforts by police, emergency responders and villagers continued for hours. The Road Development Authority will assess the site for safety lapses. The incident is among the deadliest in Sri Lanka in recent months, sparking renewed calls for tighter transport safety regulations. South Korea's conservatives made another U-turn and reinstated their nominee Kim Moon-so. The People's Power Party earlier dropped him and then reinstated as they struggle for unity to challenge the Liberal frontrunner in the snap June 3rd presidential vote. The decision was made after polling party members got confused over whether to replace him with former Prime Minister Han Duck-seo. Now PPP has promised to seek unity and build a big tent coalition to take on Liberal Democratic Party's candidate Lee Jae-myung when campaigning officially begins on Monday. Lee has been a clear frontrunner to replace Conservative former President Yoon Suk-yeol, who was removed from office in April for violating his duties when he declared a short-lived martial law in December. Pope Leo XIV for the first time led the Regina Coeli prayer from the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica on Sunday. This is his second official public appearance since becoming the leader of the Catholic Church. Thousands gathered from a closer look at the modest pontiff, born Robert Francis Prevost, who, before becoming the first US Pope, spent much of his life as a missionary in Peru. On Saturday, Leo prayed before Francis's tomb inside Santa Maria Maggiore Basilica. A church was favorite of Francis, and faithful have continued to line up to pay their respects. The late Pope Francis, who died on April 21st, made surprise visits to Catholic sites near Rome quite frequently. He asked to be buried at St. Mary Major in the simple tomb, decorated only with an inscription with the word Franciscus, his name, in Latin. A mass was celebrated in Peru's Diocese of Callao to honor the newly elected Pope Leo XIV, who once served there as an apostolic administrator. His election has stirred deep emotions, pride among the local clergy, many of whom worked closely with him during his time in the country. No parish priest in Callao wanted to miss the Mass, held in tribute of Pope Leo, who guided the diocese from 2020 to 2021. The Bishop Barrera, who succeeded him, called his election a caress from God to Peru against corruption and violence. The white smoke announcing his papacy caught many by surprise, including Bishop Barrera, who rushed to a nearby church to watch the announcement online. Spain has lifted an order to confine around 160,000 people in the northeastern Catalonia after a fire at an industrial estate caused a toxic cloud of chlorine over a wide area. The blaze started on Saturday morning at a swimming pool cleaning products company in Vilanova, south of Barcelona, and caused a huge plume of chlorine smoke over the area. The owner of the industrial property said that the lithium battery may have caused the fire. Worried residents followed the confinement instructions to the letter after text messages were sent to some 160,000 people telling them to stay indoors.
It is not a toxic leak what we have. It is not that chlorine is leaking, not at all. It is a product that is burning, and due to the very action of what is being done to extinguish the fire, that some clouds are generated, some smoke that can carry some volatile component, and therefore this can be bad for health. For this reason, we have asked that the whole area where this cloud could extend be confined.
Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. Business is booming at Japan's Don Quijote discount stores, driven by tourist frenzy, inflation and a weak yen. Known for chaotic aisles and quirky items, the chain has become a must-visit for visitors seeking souvenirs and deals. Sales are now nearly 1.7 times higher than pre-pandemic levels, with shoppers describing the experience as a fun treasure hunt. The International Day of Argan Tree, celebrated on Saturday, highlights the tree's ecological, cultural and economic significance, particularly in Morocco, where it is a native. The Argan tree plays a vital role in supporting rural communities, especially women, through cooperatives that produce argan-based goods such as oil and cosmetics. These initiatives not only preserve biodiversity and promote sustainability, but also empower women socially and economically across the region. Basel is gearing up to host 2025 Eurovision Song Contest, with crowds expected to flood the Swiss city from May 12th to 17th. The grand finals will be held on May 17th at St. Jakob Schall Arena, which seats some 12,000 fans. Basel won the bid over Geneva, over Swiss singer Nemo's victory in Malmö's last year, secured hosting rights. Still to come on DD India NewsHour. Albania voters in parliamentary elections as PM Edi Rama seeks unprecedented fourth term in office. Russian President Putin calls for direct talks with Ukraine. Ukraine Zelensky says the country is ready to meet Putin for ceasefire talks. Iran and the US to hold fourth round of talks in Oman, with focus on uranium enrichment by Iran. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Our top stories. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chairs high-level meeting at his New Delhi residence with External Affairs Minister, Defence Minister, National Security Advisor, Chief of Defence Staff and Chiefs of 3 armed forces. Signs of normalcy in areas along India-Pakistan border. In Srinagar, life returns to normal at Lal Chowk and Dal Lake. Poonch market reopens after a 4-day closure. Normalcy returns in Riyasi and Jaisalmer. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh inaugurates BrahMos Aerospace Integration Testing Facility in Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh, hails India's advances in defence production. In Albania, Prime Minister Edi Rama and leader of opposition Democratic Party Sali Berisha cast their votes in the parliamentary elections on Sunday. Rama, leading the Socialist Party since 2013, is aiming for a historic win for a fourth term against Berisha. Rama's campaign was dominated by his promise to join the European Union by the end of the decade, with polls showing Rama with the commanding lead over Berisha, who has been weakened by graft charges.
I feel very good. I believe that today the Albanian people will decide to push very strongly forward and to give us all the strength we need to make Albania the next European member state.
Vote, vote. That's my call. And I believe it's going to be a new summer day for Albanians.
And polling at Albanian polling stations opened at 7 a.m. will close at 7 p.m. local time. Results are expected on Monday. On to some other news. Russian President Vladimir Putin is calling for direct peace talks with Ukraine, proposing a high-stakes summit in Istanbul on May 15th. The announcement marks the most serious signal of diplomacy since talks broke down between the two sides 2 years ago. But with deep mistrust on both sides and a fresh push from the European leaders for an immediate ceasefire, the question remains, will this be a genuine step towards peace? Here's more.
Russian President Vladimir Putin on Sunday proposed holding direct talks with Ukraine in Istanbul on May 15. The Kremlin's surprise offer signals what could be the most serious push for diplomacy since negotiations collapsed over 2 years ago.
Let me remind you, it was not us who walked away from talks in 2022. It was Ukraine. Still, despite everything, we are ready to resume direct negotiations without any preconditions.
Putin said the goal is not just a temporary ceasefire, but a lasting peace, one that, in his words, addresses the root causes of the conflict. He plans to speak with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan to finalize details for the Istanbul summit. US President Donald Trump weighed in, posting on social media, "A potentially great day for Russia and Ukraine." Trump added he would continue to work with both sides to help bring the conflict to an end. This bold proposal comes just hours after European leaders, including UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and French President Emmanuel Macron, visited Kiev, urging Moscow to accept an immediate 30-day unconditional ceasefire. But the Russian president pushed back, accusing Ukraine of ignoring 3 recent ceasefire proposals, a month-long halt to attacks on energy infrastructure, an Easter truce and a symbolic pause during World War II commemorations. Ukraine, in turn, has consistently denied those claims. Moscow has similarly alleged violations by Kiev. With both sides trading blame and accusations, the stage is now set for a critical showdown, diplomacy versus distrust. May 15th could mark a critical moment for Eastern Europe, a chance for peace or yet another missed opportunity. Bureau Report, DD India.
And Iran will hold a 4th round of indirect nuclear talks with United States on Sunday in Oman. The 4th round of negotiations, initially scheduled for May 3rd in Rome, was postponed due to logistical reasons. US President Donald Trump has threatened to bomb Iran if no agreement is reached with his administration to resolve the long-standing dispute. He withdrew the US from the 2015 nuclear deal between Iran and the world powers. Western countries say Iran's nuclear program, which Tehran accelerated after the US walkout from now moribund 2015 accord, is geared towards producing weapons, whereas Iran insists it's purely for civilian purposes. Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, plans to attend the talks in Oman. Witkoff, in an interview, said Iranians had stated that they do not want a nuclear weapon and that the United States will take them at their word on this point. The 4th round of Iran-US nuclear talks has started in Oman, with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi hoping that talks would reach a decisive point. This comes a day after Araghchi said that Iran's right to nuclear enrichment was non-negotiable. He was speaking in Doha as he planned to visit Qatar and Saudi Arabia on Saturday. It was in line with the continuous consultations with neighboring countries to address their concerns and mutual interest about nuclear issue. The talks follow earlier rounds that began nearly a month ago, marking the highest level contact between two sides since Washington withdrew in 2015 from Iran nuclear deal during President Donald Trump's first term. Trump had cited non-compliance by Iran.
As I have said many times before, if the intention is to ensure that Islamic Republic of Iran does not have nuclear weapons, this is completely achievable and an agreement on this is certainly achievable. But if the US have more unreasonable and unrealistic demands that cannot be implemented, it is natural that the negotiation will face difficulties.
Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump is heading to Saudi Arabia, Qatar and the UAE on Monday, his first major foreign trip of his second term, focused on billion-dollar deals in defense, AI and energy. 8 years after his glowing orb moment in Riyadh, this historic return is rich in symbolism but fraught with unresolved crises. From Gaza's conflict and Iran's nuclear ambitions to Yemen's unrest, Trump faces a region in turmoil. In Riyadh, Trump will meet the leaders of 6 Gulf Cooperation Council states, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait and Oman. But one place that is not on the itinerary is Israel, United States' closest ally in the region. US President Trump hailed talks with China and Switzerland on Saturday, saying the two sides had negotiated a total reset in a friendly but constructive manner. Though he did not elaborate on the progress, earlier top US and Chinese officials wrapped up the first day of talks in Geneva aimed at diffusing a trade war that threatens to hammer the global economy and plan to resume negotiations on Sunday. Neither side made any statements afterwards about the substance of the discussions, nor signaled any specific progress towards reducing crushing tariffs as meetings at residence of Switzerland's ambassador to the UN. On the US tariffs, Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba said on Sunday discussions have gradually come together. He added that Tokyo's relationship with US President Trump is, as he says, surprisingly good. Ishiba reiterated that he will aim for elimination of all tariffs. New Zealand's Prime Minister Christopher Luxon has proposed a ban on social media for children under 16. The draft legislation would require social media companies to verify user ages and impose fines for non-compliance. Our correspondent Soumya Sharma gets us more as she speaks exclusively to Catherine Wedd, the party leader who introduced this bill.
Youth, the ruling National Party in New Zealand is calling for a digital curfew. Their latest bill aims to keep the under-16s off social media. Introduced by MP Catherine Wedd and backed by Prime Minister Christopher Luxon, the bill would unplug Kiwi teens from social media by putting the onus on tech platforms, requiring them to enforce age verification and impose penalties for non-compliance.
This bill is about protecting children from online harm, including bullying, addiction and exposure to inappropriate content by restricting social media access for under 16-year-olds.
This, of course, has sparked debates around digital rights, parental control and government regulation. Have you heard about the recent proposed bill that would restrict social media access to teenagers and individuals under 16? Have you guys heard of it?
Yeah.
And what do you think about it?
I think it's interesting that they're imposing this, but I think it'll be good for the mental health of teenagers as it can lead to a lot of bullying and misleading and a lot of stuff.
What do you have to say about the whole story?
Well, I don't think, I think it's up to parents whether or not they let their child use the internet, and social media in particular can be dangerous for people under 16, but it also can be super informative as well and can learn a lot on the internet.
In an exclusive interview, we also caught up with the National Party MP who had put forward the bill. So my first question is, what made you sort of think that there should be an age restriction for, individuals under 16?
Well, as a mother of 4 children, I think that we need more protections in place for parents to protect our children from online harms of social media. I'm hearing from parents and principals and teachers all the time that they are worried about the negative impacts of social media, which includes cyberbullying, exploitation, inappropriate content, and then of course there's the issues around mental health and anxiety. And so this bill is really about protecting our young children from online harm.
Who are the key players in this? I mean, who do you think takes the center stage? Do you think it's the parents? Do you think it's the individuals themselves, or the school, or the social media platforms themselves?
Well, of course, parents always have a responsibility, but we also think that social media companies have a social responsibility. And so this bill is mirrored on the Australian legislation, which will put the onus on social media companies to ensure that under 16-year-olds are not able to access and use social media.
While the debate unfolds, one thing is clear. How we guide our youth online today will definitely shape the society we stroll through tomorrow. This is Soumya Sharma from Wellington for DD India.
Still to come on DD India NewsHour. India celebrates National Technology Day. Prime Minister Modi extends greetings, reaffirms commitment to empowering future generations through science and research. Real Madrid to lock horns with La Liga leaders Barcelona in their El Clasico on Sunday.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium, we'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. The news just coming in, taking to social media site X. Ministry of Defence writes, and I quote, consequent to the ceasefire and airspace violations, on night of 10th, 11th May, Chief of Army Staff General Upendra Dwivedi has reviewed the security situation with army commanders of the western borders. General Dwivedi granted full authority to the army commanders for counteraction in kinetic domain to any violation of the understanding reached vis-a-vis DGMO talks of 10th of May 2025. And for more on this, DD India correspondent Nandita Dagar joins us from New Delhi. Nandita, with regards to this update, it seems guns have fallen silent, but the vigil continues.
Yes, in fact, Shubhendu, the army has just tweeted, as you read out, that our army chief, General Upendra Dwivedi, has interacted and held a meeting with the northern, western and southwest western army commanders, the top brass of the army, which is responsible for the protection of our borders in J&K, Punjab, Rajasthan and Gujarat. The outcome of that meeting is that full freedom and full operational authority has been granted to these respective commanders, the regional commanders, to respond effectively and appropriately whenever, in case Pakistan breaches the agreement that was reached yesterday between our two directors generals of military operations. As you know, that agreement was reached at 5 p.m. had come into effect at 5 p.m. Indian Standard Time, but around 8:30 p.m. Last night, that is on 10th of May, 8:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, we saw that ceasefire violations through heavy caliber weapons, shellings, mortars, etc. began along the LOC in Kupwara, Baramulla. There was in Srinagar and in areas such as Poonch, Mendar, Rajouri, and on the frontage in the frontier states of Punjab, Rajasthan and Gujarat. So hence, the Indian Army is at an all-time alert, vigil, in case Pakistan does not remain true to its words, because its past history and a history of more than 75 years proves that it is not a trustworthy, responsible state if it reaches an agreement with the agreement is reached between the armies, and still last night it resorted to shelling and artillery, mortar and firing with heavy guns, heavy caliber guns.
Right.
Then India has to remain at an all-time alert and high vigilance level. That is also something that the Air Force has clarified, Shubhendu, in a tweet at around 12:30 today afternoon Indian Standard Time. The Indian Air Force actually has said that it successfully executed all the assigned tasks in Operation Sindoor with precision and professionalism. All these operations were conducted in a discreet manner, aligned with national. Yes, please. Yeah.
Right.
Can I?
Sure, you can complete that point. Yeah.
Yes, I also wanted to tell you, Shubhendu, that there at 6:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time, a briefing is being scheduled of a combined briefing by our armed forces, which includes the Army, the Army, Navy, and Air Force. Who exactly is going to brief amongst these services is not yet known. Yet, the Air Force has clarified, since the tweet of the Air Force said that the operations are still ongoing, a detailed briefing will be conducted in due course. it says the operations are still ongoing. So that befuddled and confused many people who believe that even the Air Force is still in operation with its fighter jets and air defense weapons. But the Air Force has come out with a clarification in the last half an hour and said that the Air Force meant by this that it is maintaining vigil, alertness, it is monitoring the situation, and therefore it remains operational. It is not to say that the Air Force air defense guns or etc. or any aerial conflict is currently going on. That is not the case. Also, Shubhendu, let me also clarify that since today morning, Pakistan has, it seems it has adhered to that agreement that was reached yesterday, and currently peace or there are no current hostilities on the ground.
And in fact, that update we've been sharing, and we'll be on the standby for that press conference that you mentioned. But for now, thank you for joining us with those updates. National Technology Day 2025 was celebrated in New Delhi on Sunday by the Technology Development Board under Department of Science and Technology. The theme of the year is Yantra Yugantar for advancing new technology, research and acceleration. The event highlights India's progress in technology-led innovation and its vision for a Viksit Bharat by 2047. Union Minister of State for Science and Technology, Dr. Jitendra Singh, was the chief guest at the event. The minister emphasized the country's strides in deep tech, quantum and sustainable technologies. He also launched key indigenous products, and 2 national calls were announced on quantum research and teaching labs. The event also featured IndiTech 2025, a high-level dialogue on tech commercialization with experts from India and abroad.
This day, being National Technology Day, happens to be 27th day. This day was also motivated by the success of the Pokhran test. The idea to have a National Technology Day on this day, on the 11th of May, was from Prime Minister Vajpayee, the then Prime Minister, and incidentally the Silver Jubilee was celebrated with Prime Minister Modi. What was conceptualized at the time of starting National Technology Day 27 years ago actually stands vindicated by Prime Minister Modi over the last 1 decade.
And Prime Minister Modi has extended greetings on the occasion of National Technology Day. In a post on X, Prime Minister writes, and I quote, "This is a day to express pride and gratitude to our scientists and remember the 1998 Pokhran tests. They were a landmark event in our nation's growth trajectory, especially in our quest towards self-reliance, powered by our people. India is emerging as a global leader in different aspects of technology, be it space, AI, digital innovation, green technology and more. We reaffirm our commitment to empower future generations through science and research. May technology uplift humanity, secure our nation and drive futuristic growth." Let's now turn to all the action from the world of sports. Yannick Sinner made victories return to tennis after a 3-month doping ban. He swept aside Mariano Navone in straight sets, 6-3, 6-4 at the Italian Open in Rome. The Italian had not played since winning the Australian Open in January due to the suspension he accepted from the World Anti-Doping Agency. For the 3-time Grand Slam champion, it was not about just winning on the home soil, but also rebuilding momentum. The Italian said he had doubts going into the match and still does, but that he wasn't letting that bother him as he looks to get back into form. Coach Carlo Ancelotti said Real Madrid will need to play a complete game to defeat La Liga leaders Barcelona in their El Clasico on Sunday. Real have a 4-point gap to make up with 4 games remaining if they are to retain the title. Ancelotti, they will need to get everything right to have a chance. Real have lost all 3 previous games against Barcelona in this campaign, including the recent Copa del Rey finals, and exited the Champions League at the quarter-final stage against Arsenal, which they won the competition last season. Chelsea completed an unbeaten season in the Women's Super League with a 1-0 win over Liverpool, and Arsenal held on for a 4-3 victory over Manchester United to finish second in the standings. Chelsea, who sealed their 6th consecutive WSL title last month, were unable to break down the Liverpool's defence until the 91st minute when Aggie Beaver-Jones scored the winner. 8-time champions Chelsea finished with 19 wins and 3 draws to earn 60 points, which was the highest total in the WSL season. They also become the first team to go unbeaten in a 22-match Meanwhile, Arsenal ended the season with 48 points, 4 ahead of third-placed United. Back home, a quiet revolution is unfolding in Bihar. At Khelo India Youth Games 2025, young gymnasts from the states are leaping towards brighter future. Backed by Khelo India initiative, they are now training with the purpose and performing with pride. DD India correspondent Narayan Singh brings us this exclusive report.
Bihar's sporting journey is gaining momentum. At the Khelo India Youth Games 2025, young gymnasts from the state are turning heads. The gymnastics event are being held in Delhi, but Bihar's athletes are making their presence felt. These athletes come from humble backgrounds, but poverty hasn't stopped them from reaching for the skies. Backed by the Khelo India initiative, they are now training with purpose and performing with pride. Among them is 10-year-old Vani Goyal. Her graceful moves impressed everyone.
It is the vision of our Prime Minister who organized this Khelo India for our young players, and we want to take this opportunity very high level. It is a good vision for our young players.
While Bihar is hosting the overall games, some events like gymnastics are being held outside the state. Still, the spirit of Bihar's team is strong. Coach Shahjad Alam called it a turning point.
सबसे पहले तो बिहार सरकार और बिहार खेल विभाग को बहुत थैंक यू कहना चाहता हूं कि उन्होंने खेलो इंडिया होस्ट कराया। खेलो इंडिया होस्ट होने का सबसे बड़ा फ़ायदा सारे खिलाड़ियों को मिलेगा, जिम्नास्टिक ही नहीं सारे गेम में। रीज़न ये सारे गेम में बढ़ावा मिलेगा, सारे पेरेंट्स जानेंगे, सारे अच्छा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर आएगा जिससे बच्चे अच्छे खेलेंगे और मेडल लाने की पूरी उम्मीद बढ़ाएंगे। जो रेशियो अभी मेडल टैली में बहुत नीचे हुआ करता था, ये इवेंट होने के कारण और ऊपर बढ़ेगा। रीज़न है कि फैसिलिटीज़ बढ़ेंगे, कोचेस बढ़ेंगे, ट्रेनर बढ़ेंगे और इस सबसे ज़्यादा फ़ायदा बच्चों को होगा।
The journey of these young gymnasts shows the power of hard work and opportunity. As they compete in Delhi, they carry the dreams of a rising Bihar. Narayan Singh's report for DD India.
Future sports stars in action. But that's all in this edition of DD India NewsHour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan this QR code that you see on your screens to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India NewsHour. Namaskar.